this brand new series of the Birth and Baby Business Show, which we are calling Lessons from a Birth or Baby Business Owner. And we'll be speaking to those of you who are in or have been in the birth and baby business world. We'll be asking them what it is that you would like to know on how they got to where they are in their business today. Hello, my name's Anna LaGrange, and I'm one half of Baba Business, the Birth and Baby Business Academy.
And my name's Liz Stamford, and I am the other half of Baba Business, the community membership for birth and baby business owners. And today we have the pleasure of speaking with the lovely Alex Heath. So Alex is the course director at the College of Perinatal Emotional Health, founder of traumaticbirthrecovery.com, and author of the book Recovering from a Traumatic Birth, A Practical Guide. She is also a parent, clinical hypnotherapist, and still occasionally a birth doula. Since 2016, she has been training healthcare professionals, birth professionals, and pre- and postnatal specialists in the therapeutic skills and techniques that can provide a brief intervention to parents struggling to cope with a traumatic perinatal event. Her mission is to put perinatal mental health on the map for society to realise that good parenting begins with robust, resilient mental and emotional health. She believes this can only happen when parents can access appropriate support. So over 700 professionals have joined this quiet revolution in perinatal mental health so far, and we can't wait to hear more about it. So, Alex, my first question has to be, why did you start your business? What actually led you to this quiet revolution, as you call it?
Thank you very much for the introduction, Liz, and thank you, Anna, for inviting me to be on this podcast. It's always wonderful to, just have a sit down and a chat, really, isn't it? So, thanks very much for the opportunity. Why did I start this? Is that your question?
Yeah. Why did you start your business? What led to this quiet revolution that you're creating?
A mixture of things, really. I wanted to leave the corporate world. I worked in sales, and corporate life really it was really incompatible with family life for me, because the industry I was in required me to be a functioning alcoholic, which was at odds with what my family needed. And so I retrained as a clinical hypnotherapist, because hypnotherapy had helped me a lot with anxiety and addiction problems. Mm-hmm. So that's what I decided to retrain in, with the aim of leaving the corporate world. But from the point of training to the point of leaving, it took me a couple of years. So I think it took me, actually, it didn't take me that long. It took me a couple of years to retrain and leave. I did it bit by bit. Like, if you're in that position and you're still working your day job, your salaried job, mm-hmm. the bit that pays your mortgage, but you've got a side hustle, don't feel the pressure to take. I mean, for some people, it's good for them to just go, no, that's it, I'm going, I'm off. But actually, it's good to kind of, phase one in and one out, and you may even need to go back to one someday, so I was definitely someone who, I didn't jump in with both feet. I put my toe in, then I went in ankle deep, and slowly I left corporate life and set up my business as a clinical hypnotherapist. And as a clinical hypnotherapist, I was seeing everyone and anyone for everything, from like the strangest problems, like monkey phobias, to, your bread and butter, which is smoking cessation, if you're a hypnotherapist, a clinical hypnotherapist. But because my children were small and I knew a lot of parents, I ended up just seeing a lot of parents for parenting issues, mm-hmm. Particularly as time went on, birth trauma. And I also taught hypnobirthing to parents as well, which is another reason why I was sort of in that world. And it just kind of went from there, really. I'd had my own sort of mental health issues that had really flared up when I had children. because parenting just re-triggers a lot of our own traumatic experiences being parented. So a lot of the things we experienced as children, like we forget about during adolescence and young adulthood, when we're busy having a good time and making our way in the world, really like floor us again and take us down when we're parents, because a lot of that stuff comes back up to the surface again. And it certainly did for me. And it made me confront my addiction. It made me, being a parent, made me confront a lot of what we would call in the trade maladaptive coping mechanisms. And I was really motivated to do so for the first time ever because of my children, because I wanted to not repeat generational trauma, and I wanted them to have their own traumas that weren't passed down. But no, seriously, I was really motivated, and so I'd had that experience, and then I ended up working with people that were also having similar experiences, but often around, not just birth trauma but other kinds of perinatal traumas as well. So it was something that I was really passionate about, that I really understood, and that naturally sort of seemed to thrive for me in a way that perhaps the smoking cessation or the weight loss work in general hypnotherapy didn't. So I think a couple of years in, possibly about 3 or 4 years in, I just really honed it. I just really sort of dived right in with perinatal parenting stuff, and that got more traction and was more successful. And because I was just working in one area, I did start to become quite formulaic, not in a way that meant I didn't honour people's individual experiences, but just my way of working became very formulaic. And because it became very formulaic, it was something I was able to teach to other people. And so I started teaching birth trauma techniques to other professionals, and that's when my sort of business segued, really, and I went from being a therapist to being a trainer, and that was probably around 2016. And now I do still see a very small proportion of one-to-one clients. So I probably see about 2 or 3, maybe maximum 4 clients a week. But the majority of my work is in training. So that's kind of how it sort of grew and mushroomed in the ways that it has.
That's an amazing story. That's really great to know. What did you feel like the leap or the jump, or did it feel like a leap or a jump to go into the training side of your work? How did that feel?
Yeah, it did massively, because at that point I just felt like an imposter. Like, who am I to train? Who am I to share this stuff with other people? And when I look back, I sort of leaned heavily on other professionals who I thought, and I hid behind them, and that kind of got me burnt, because some of those professionals took my stuff, as Anna knows all about that story. But that, I think, is a natural learning curve that we all go through whenever we sort of start to teach something that is feels intrinsically our creation or our spin on it, even if it's using things that are already in the sort of domain of, everyone having access to. Like, we've kind of said, well, if you do it in this way, or if you put this thing first, then this makes this really effective, or whatever, I didn't have any confidence in that. And it's really funny, actually. I remember when I met Anna for the first time, which was probably in like 2017. I think we were on a retreat or something.
Yeah, I think it was 2018. I think.
Which makes us sound really poncy. Yeah, we were just on a retreat.
We've said that a few times on this podcast already, haven't we? Oh yeah,
don't worry. Our listeners know about our retreats. Our love retreats. So it's fine.
I think we were on a retreat with the lovely Susie Ashworth, and And I remember telling you that story, and you had done the training with the person who had sort of nicked my stuff, basically.
Yes.
And you were like, and you just said, I don't know why you worry about it, because I've done his training, and it's still so obviously you. And I was like,
Yes,
oh,
it was your training. It was someone else
that's really interesting.
training
That
me in
someone's
your
nicked my
training.
stuff. Yeah, that's really weird. And it did bring a small amount of, like, a mixed measure of comfort, and also like peevishness. I mean, I have let go of a lot of it, because now I guess the journey is like, when you first start doing something like that, when you first start teaching something that is your spin, your unique take, or your very much your view of the problem, which I I'm not saying, like, I'm not saying there aren't other people who do something similar, but I the journey that I've gone on is that I can very much stand in my own uniqueness now, and that means, like, really putting my hands up to all sorts of foibles and weaknesses too, for sure. But I'm not really so much worried about competitors or things like that anymore. I'm like, okay, well, they're doing that over there, and whatever. I'm still gonna my stuff's still gonna be my stuff. But yeah,
Oh my gosh, there's just so much in there, Alex. There's so much in there that I'd love to talk about. Could I for our listeners as well, when you said that story and there was a little laugh from me, that makes it sound like I was laughing at what happened to you, and I'm not. I wasn't. I was, it's not that I was. It's just I do know the story, and I've sort of had that sort of experience of, I suppose, experience of a student in that. And and it was great to become friends with you and meet you after I'd actually done your course, but not with you, if that sounds right. It's a bit of a strange way to explain it, but yeah, no, it's great. And I think this is such a lesson, because actually you're not the first person that Liz and I have heard or spoken to recently where they've had a similar experience, where they've got something really unique, something that's really, they know it so well that they're ready to be able to teach people, but there's that self-doubt, and also a lack of experience, really. How do you take something like this into a national or even an international sphere, and it's, if you've only worked with parents or you've been doing something completely different in your career up until now, it can, you can really want mentors and people to help you. And you called it hiding behind people, but I think, although there's an element of that, we do need guides in business, and we need people to help us. It's just that, unfortunately, sometimes we perhaps don't put our trust in the right, or we are vulnerable with the wrong people, unfortunately, for whatever reason at that time. And I think sometimes that can have negative consequences. But what I really know from knowing you since then is that, actually, although it may seem like a negative experience, it has built you and your business to where you are today, which is what you were saying about your uniqueness and really standing it and letting those past experiences go. Because if you hadn't have had that experience, your business probably wouldn't be exactly what it is now. So I think, can you sort of see the positive side of that, or is it something that you sort of still struggle with?
No, yeah, I definitely, yeah. I mean, I think there's a few things, like, when it happens to you, you feel like very victimized and taken advantage of naturally, because I was taken advantage of. These were two people who had much more experience, both published authors, really, took advantage of somebody who came along like an excited puppy wanting to share something with them. Oh yeah, we'll help you with that. Yeah, come with us. Nod, nod, wink, wink. And yeah, just got completely shafted. So I mean, that's with them. But do I see a positive in it now? I sort of see it as part parcel of what many people go through. Like you said, Anna, there is a sense of being flattered in that, it's a good idea, so of course other people are going to rip you off. But the challenge is I suppose the challenge was for me was, one, to carry on because you whatever, and two, to really stand my ground in the things that make my training really excellent and much better than that other person's. So that's been a positive, because I sort of do really stand in that and believe by that, and I don't really give it any thought or any, it doesn't keep me up at night. Let's put it that way.
That's really good. And it shows that you've got so much resilience as a business owner, and that is so important, I think, as we're growing and scaling and developing as business owners, is that you have to have a level of resilience, because maybe not that specific challenge, but challenges are going to come up, and you can either go, whoa, that's enough for me, I can't, I'm not going to I can't cope with that, I can't deal with it, I don't want to be in this kind of area of conflict or feel this way, so I'm going to bow out. And no disrespect to anyone who makes that decision, because that's that's their own personal choice, but the level of resilience that it takes, I think, to work through that and then go on and just totally smash it, which you have done and are doing, is hats off to you, Alex, because I think that is pretty amazing.
Oh, thank you, ladies. It doesn't sort of feel like that at the time. I suppose it did. It's something that happened a while ago. And I mean, like you say, there's always going to be hurdles, right? But let's be real, right? If you want an easy life, if you want to, always achieve your 8 hours at night and not wake up in the middle of the night going, holy shit, how the fuck am I going to sort X, Y, or Z out? Or what's going to happen with, if you want an easy life, if you want peace of mind, if you want the same day in, day out, if you want to defer your earning potential and your freedom to do the things that you love in your life to something or someone else in return for security, basically, and safety, and knowingness, isn't it? Knowingness of what's going to happen the next day, the next week, the next month, then this kind of work is not, this kind of endeavor is not for you. And I say that, Liz, know it, totally hats off to people who choose that too. Because that also has its sacrifices as well, for sure. But creating your own thing from your own passions, and then going out to a marketplace and waving it around everywhere, going, does anybody want to know about this, day after day after day, does require you to have courage and and to be able to have your heart broken again and again and again, and still go back with an open heart, because not everything that you do works. A lot of stuff that you do fails spectacularly. And so, you have to be able to cope with that kind of disappointment, because it's heartbreaking, right? And that's why you also need friends and community.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
For sure.
I totally agree with what you're saying there. And I think as business owners, there can be this fear of failure and fear of getting things wrong, and the fear of rejection, and that can be really intense, especially right at the beginning, which is probably part of the reason why you said you were hiding behind these people initially. But the truth is that failure really does just make you a better business owner, because you'll never make that choice again to trust. And that's almost horrible, isn't it? But to trust so easily, you do have to be careful when you have a big, innovative, creative idea that you're bringing to the marketplace, and it's new and it's different and it's your baby, who you share that with. Sadly, you have to be super careful, because there are people out there who will take it as their own and run with it. And sadly, you experienced it, but I think you are standing much stronger for it, definitely.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is something that has, it's made me stronger in the sense, like you say, Liz, I probably would not partner with people in that kind of way again, where I'm just kind of giving up all of my property, really. So I probably wouldn't do that again. That was my biggest learning lesson from it. But there's lots of lessons like that, isn't there? There's lots of different hurdles that you go through. You're always kind of navigating something. So yeah, it is. I think that's the thing with this kind of chosen path, is that you're always going to be tested in some way, and it's kind of, your attitude towards that and weathering that's going to be all important.
Definitely.
And the other thing that I think talking, it's so relevant to what Liz and I are doing as well, is because partnerships are really hard in business. Like they're really hard to make work. Not saying that things for Liz and I are hard. That's not what I'm trying to say. It actually isn't. It's the opposite. But I think we've both had enough business partnerships or business relationships to know that it's actually it is a really tricky thing for most people to get a business partnership right. I mean, the Mindful Breastfeeding School started off as a partnership with someone who was a very good friend, and we still are friends, but it didn't work. Like as in a business, it just didn't work. It wasn't right for both of us in the format that it was. And luckily we knew each other well enough to like have those honest conversations with each other before it got, bad, for want of a better word, or negative or sticky or whatever. But I know loads of people where unfortunately it has been messy and and I think, I don't know, have you got any advice around that, Alex, apart from like don't do it? Because I just think I've got lots of sort of pearls of wisdom around it, and I think maybe I'm feeling a bit smug now about me and Liz's business. I'm not meaning to come across like that, because we don't know what challenges we're going to have coming up in the future. But I know definitely that there's a lot of things we've put into our partnership that, because of the histories that we've had in business partnerships, and working with other people before. But I'd love to know your sort of take on that.
Oh yeah, that's really interesting, because actually, so one thing that actually I don't think Liz said in the bio, maybe obviously because I didn't provide you with this information, Liz, but I have actually just recently started a new company with someone else. So that's because, why not have more than one company? So really recently well, actually not that recently, it was just before Christmas, I created a community interest company called the Birth Republic. So still very much in the birth world. And as a community interest company, I wanted to set up something that enabled me to bid for funding for to improve access to therapeutic services for groups and minorities who would struggle to have that access otherwise. So as part of that setting that CFC up, a community interest company, you need to do it with two of you. You can't just do it with one person. So you need two company directors. So I set it up on my own, feeling, great, I've done it. And then read the small print. I was like, oh shit, there needs to be two of us. Damn it. So I had to then really have a think about who I wanted to work with, because naturally I am quite a lone wolf. Not in that I don't enjoy working with other people, because I really do, but being a control freak, it doesn't come easily to me, because it's like I like things to be done my way. Really, I'm not. I feel like I am collaborative, so long as it's on my terms, which is like totally not the point, is it? That's not collaboration. So I actually probably want to put the question back to both of you in order for me to learn some tips, because I am working with somebody who I have such an enormous amount of respect for, and their input has been so valuable, and has definitely really, really helped so far to get us to this point. But yeah, that is something that's a challenge for me. Like, it's a challenge for me kind of going, oh, okay, I have to take on board your ideas and your opinions here. Whereas normally I would just go, well, that's what we're doing, because that's what I think. So it's like I would like to hear how you make that magic happen, because it's like a marriage in a way, isn't it? It's like it
We
takes
are
a lot
married,
of
yeah.
like this is what like listening to you, Anna. I'm thinking I kind of think like they get on because they are considering each other's needs, and I kind of think that that's maybe what's happening between you. Whereas when it, and I know that I understand that because I'm married 20 years this year, and I feel like the reason we're still married is because we have a lot of consideration for what the other one needs. So we're kind of like, okay, we're always helping each other to get the thing that the other one needs, or we're on each other's sides like that. So it kind of is I feel like any partnership, friendship, relationship has to kind of exist through that mutual wanting to lift each other upness. So it's kind of just working out my own answer here, talking, just blathering on.
Well, I mean, I'll happily share
making
my
me,
thoughts on it.
it's sort of making me realise that is where I'm kind of probably a bit of a bad business partner. Thinking about my community interest project that I'm doing with my new partner, is that I need to work on that. I need to work on being more considerate, probably, of to what she wants and how she wants it to be. Whereas because it's something that I launched and then I asked her to join, I'm kind of like, right, this is where we're going, and she's like, oh, hold on a minute. That's necessarily the right way to go. And I'm like, what do you mean? We're going over. Do you know what I mean? And actually, it's probably not going to work long term if I carry on like that.
Well, I do think that having a shared vision is key to Baba. Like, we check in with our vision all the time, like constantly. So I think that has, for me, if we're never quite on the same page about something, if like our communication about something's a bit off, it's because our vision isn't quite matched, and we need to come back together and be like, right, okay, what are we trying to achieve here, and just go into that sort of, I do think that is fundamental to how Baba runs at the moment.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And then I think as well, the fact that we know each other really well, and we're quite similar personalities but different skill sets, so that kind of marries itself quite well as well. Like, it's scary sometimes, things that happen, that we're so in alignment with each other, and our lives are in alignment in so many different ways, and it just always feels like we're on the right path together. It's never felt hard work so far. So that is always really good. And I think it is a bit like a marriage. And like you, Alex, I've been married for 20 years, and so has Anna. So maybe that paves the way for transferable skills into a business partnership. But it feels a bit easier than a 20-year marriage, I have to say. It just feels like it's I don't know, it flows very, very well. But yeah, I wouldn't say you would be a bad business partner at all. I think maybe it's just like you said, it's just being aware of each other and sharing the vision, and communication is like the top thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel like we're still in our infancy, and because we both also have other companies, a bit like you guys as well. It's kind of also going, well, how much of this is this time and how much of this is this time, and because it's still quite new, it's sort of a bit of an untested thing. But let's see. I've definitely had to stop and think, hold on, I can't just railroad ahead how I like normally would, with my own agenda or my own thoughts and my own wills and desires here. Like, that's not gonna work.
No.
Yeah, it's definitely a different way of working. Yeah, like you said, consideration, communication is completely key. Being really honest, like, when you can see that someone's not quite, you can see that someone's not quite getting it or not quite happy. It's like the business being important enough for you to be able to say, I don't think I don't think that's landing with you, or what's going on, or how are you feeling. Like, that's, I think for us, like, that's how important Baba is to us, as is our friendship, for us to be able to just say things that you might normally think, oh, that might be a bit uncomfortable to ask, or do I want to be that honest, or do I not ask somebody to be that vulnerable? But I think it is that important, and that's the importance that we put on the business, but also on our friendship. But I would say that it is important to try, and something we haven't managed to do yet is get the time on it right. And I think it has to be matched. You have to both be able to match, like, spend the equal amounts of time in your business, because that's kind of what happened with the Mindful Breastfeeding School, that was uneven. But at the same time, you've obviously got to look after other businesses as well. So that's something that we're trying to get better at, is putting boundaries in for ourselves for both of our businesses, and try and make sure that that's equal and fair. I think we are working quite hard on that.
Yeah.
It's all a
learning curve. It's tricky, isn't it? It's definitely tricky. One to watch out for. But I mean, have me back on in a year's time and ask me what I've learned, Anna, because at the moment I still feel like I'm finding my way through.
We will hold you to
partnerships.
That, definitely. So definitely bringing the conversation back round to your business, which you are the sole owner of. How do you differentiate yourself from others? Like, we talked quite in depth about that experience where your work was kind of taken and run with, and that's still out there. So how do you differentiate yourself from other businesses? I think that's really key for birth and baby business owners, because a lot of the time we can be selling the same or very similar services. So there has to be something. I mean, we all know that the USP is like the individual, it's the person and what they bring to it, and how they discuss it, and what their messaging is. But would you say that there's anything else in particular that you have learned that really helps to differentiate you from others?
I mean, one thing that I wish I was able to do more of, or be more of, it is that thing of being, it's the thing of being brave enough to be yourself. And I think that as women, we're so used to dialing it back, turning it down, keeping it polite, not offending anyone, making sure that we're ticking all the boxes for this, and this, that it can just make everyone feel very, very vanilla, right? And to say the unpopular thing, to say the thing that's like, well, actually, I'm not sure, I agree with this, or to go against some of the grain, that's where I see, not my competitors, because I wouldn't necessarily, but my peers. I really love, especially right now, working in the birth space, for the trailblazing that I'm seeing by some people who are going, do you know what, fuck it, I'm going to just say it like it is. People like Sam Gadsden, who has got a wonderful home birth and free birth page, she gets taken down all the time. Like, she gets hounded by tabloid media trying to call her all of the things, and I just think, love that woman. She's not fucking budging an inch. She's just like, no, this is what it is. And people like Kemi Johnson, also another woman who has arrows and slings fired at her constantly. And she's like, no, this is where I'm standing. I know you please, if you're, I watch her TikToks all the time. She goes, if you're watching this TikTok thinking, yes, but what, then stop watching me, because I'm not for you. Just stop watching now. I'm like, that's what you've got, like in the business that we're in, right? Like, when we strip it all back, we strip away all of our frippery and our branding and everything else. The thing that fires me is women's health, right? It's women's health and well-being, and the way that we birth, and the way that those early parenting days is so vital for our health and our well-being, and our whether we're able to thrive with our families, and when you it's really easy for us to kind of get into this groove of nicety, or like messaging that we're like, right, I need people need to know this about my training, or people need to know this about, you know, whatever it is. And it's like, you know, I kind of, especially at the moment, like we're 2 weeks, is it 2 weeks or 1 week, 2 weeks after the APPG fucking shit show of a report into birth trauma, that basically was, you know, saw our leading UK birth trauma charity throw traumatized women under the bus, you know, with that report, as did Better Births, you know. And it took a lot of bravery for the rest of us to go, actually, I think that's shit. Where social media and the BBC even were just full of people going, yeah, well done for highlighting this issue and bringing it to the fore, and, you know, giving you know, women who've experienced birth trauma a voice. It's like, I'm sorry, this is diabolical. Have you read it?
Yeah.
It reads like it's been written by some Victorian medical doctor who, you know, knows absolutely nothing about a woman's experience of why birth might be traumatic. But, you know, if it wasn't for people like Sam, myself, Amity Reid, Emma Ashcroft from AIMS, people who really, really are passionate about women's experiences and how damaging modern maternity care is. If it wasn't for those people really screaming and shouting about it, then I think people have gone, oh, well, that's really good. We've got an APPG report into it, so that's brilliant. That's all being taken care of. No, it isn't being taken care of. And we need to keep in order to say, like, how do I differentiate, I really connect to the fucking injustice that is massive and huge, about women's health and women's rights, because it is a women's issue, it's a feminist issue, and we need to be more angry about it, because the problem is women, before they have children, are completely oblivious to this, and then they have children, get chewed up and spat out and like left to kind of put themselves back together again whilst trying to raise a family, you know. And so it's up to us old crones to kind of really make sure people are aware of before they begin.
I can really like your passion just really shines through, and the reason why you do the work that you do just really shines through. And I think that's a message for anybody. Like, if you're not passionate about your work, if it's not driving you to speak in the way that you do, then, you know, question why you're doing it is probably part of it, because you always need to come back to that why at so many different points in your business, in all the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, in order to enable you to be driven forward and to make the success out of your business. So your business is never going to be successful if you're a little bit half-assed about the reason why you're doing it. So I would say that is a fantastic differentiator from other people in the market.
Yeah. I mean, it can mean, I think the thing is, it can mean us getting quite emotive sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I'm always a bit wary. I always sometimes feel like a bit like wary about being too emotive, because obviously the thing that I deal in it is very emotive. So I kind of want to have that balance. But I also think, it's, you know, if everyone spoke more passionately about why it matters, like, why does this even matter, you know, then we might get some real change. But, you know, when you look at the what happened with the APPG report, is that we couldn't even really name the main causes of birth trauma, and they spent all that money, and they'd invited all of those people to share their traumatic stories. They couldn't even really say, you know, they couldn't even really name the thing, and and that, I think, was just a terrible waste of time, really. So yeah, I think being brave and being the person that gets their soapbox out, dusts it off, and goes, right, I'm going to stand here and say how I truly think about it, you know, and live by that, and then maybe take all your social media apps, like do your life, take all your social media apps off,
Don't look
and
at
forget about it for 48 hours. But I do think that you have an advantage as you get older, because you like literally the menopause just it takes your estrogen and your fucks given. Like they both go together. Estrogen, fucks given, both gone, depleting massively with each year after 50. They're just like falling off a cliff. So it enables you to just speak quite candidly.
So menopause is great for business.
Menopause can. I mean, once you've got your HRT controlling the sleepless nights and sweats and everything else, and all of the other awfulness side effects of the menopause. But I mean, I do sort of feel like a lot of the my peers in my particular sort of niche of what we do, like, they are older women who are just not giving a fuck. And I feel like there's a lot to be said for that, especially when leading younger women who are still, being coerced, because we're brought up to be good girls. We're brought up to fit in, to fit in with each other as well. Like a lot of this is, don't get me wrong, a lot of it is the patriarchy, but some of it is like our own female neediness to kind of be liked by other females, and to not be taken down by other females. And that also can be incredibly harmful. And I think that one of the things about getting older is that we're kind of like, oh, well, you know what, if I live and die alone, it's fine. I'll just get some cats, whatever.
But I love that. So liberating to think like that, because we've actually spoken to business owners recently, haven't we, that feel like they're on a bit of a what's the word, like a time limit because of their age when it comes to the work that they do. Whereas what you're saying is like completely turning that on the head. What I really heard then was like, we as the I'm going to put me and Anna in this as well, like as the older generation within the birth world are paving the path for these younger people to come through. Like, what we want you to come through, don't we? Because we want to make we want the birth world, we want perinatal services, we want families to access things that are going to make a real difference to how they feel and how they parent and how they just bloody experience their lives. So we want these people to come through. And if that means that we're doing the work that we're doing, and we're being brave and we're pushing our way through for other people to come behind, like, I love that idea that women can just do that for each other. It's really important.
Yeah, I think so much birth trauma is born out of women not being able to advocate for themselves and say, no, this isn't happening. I do not consent to that. No, this is not how I want to birth. No, I do not, and we're so vulnerable at that point in pregnancy, aren't we? And all of the things that we, that we know can empower women to speak what they want and to speak what they don't want, and to be powerful advocates for themselves is really important. It's such a transitionary time, isn't it? I think it's, and it's, like there's a part of me, like I think I went through a phase before I was really mad and perimenopausal when my kids were getting a bit older, and I was thinking, oh, do I still really care about maternity? Do I still really care about the way we parent? Like, because I'm out of that life stage now. I don't really have any friends. Like, I have plenty of clients that are being, chewed up by the modern maternity experience. But, how much do I say? But actually, I sort of feel like now, as time has gone on, I've become more passionate about it than probably what I ever was before, because there's so much wrongness, there's so much injustice, and it's not it's also, it's one of those things that it's not easily, you can't easily kind of point the finger and go, oh, it's just this, it's just underfunding, it's just this, it's just that, there's so many multi-layered reasons behind people's terrible experiences, and not one of them makes it okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's so true. And I think what you're talking about as well, having that purpose and having that vision, and that kind of links into what Liz was saying about resilience. Like if you want to have a sustainable business, if you want to be resilient when business problems raise their heads, and which they will, you've got to have that level of passion to get through it. Otherwise, you're just going to be like, oh, that's not for me anymore, or for whatever reason. So I think you've got to have that passion and that belief in what you're doing. Not to say that doesn't adjust and change as time goes on, because I think it does. I think, as you said, as you get older you see things differently, but just as you see people experiencing different things, your clients or whoever you're working with, your views shift a bit, but holding on to that real purpose and original why to why you went to this business is I think what helps you build to where all three of us have. I think it's a really important point. I'd love to ask you, Alex, what do you think is your biggest, if you were going to choose one, what is your biggest lesson in business so far? What would you say is, maybe you've already covered it?
Yeah, don't get caught in a trap of just enoughness. Always try and go large, like always try and go big. Like I think so many times in my life I've kind of gone, well, I just need this, I just need enough of this, or I just need to get to here, or just. And I think one of the things about working with coaches and mentors that has been really important for me in growing has been the challenge to think really, really big. So I think sometimes you can maybe get into a business. Like, it's really funny actually, I had an email this morning from somebody saying, I only need to have 4 clients a month doing this. Do you think that's possible? And I'm thinking, I should certainly bloody hope so. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then actually thinking, oh, I do understand that thinking, because when especially if you're leaving if you're like leaving salaried work and you're going in on a business like hypnobirthing or mindful breastfeeding, doulaing, or being a trauma practitioner, you're thinking, oh, how am I gonna, I just need to do, like, you're doing the crunching the numbers and you're going, I just need to do this or to do that. And the thing is, it's, for me, that's never really worked. It's never really worked out. If I've always just thought I just need enough to do this, then I just get enough, and it's incredibly stressful. But I sort of feel like a better way to go about things is to just really connect with your purpose and the change that you want to see, and to just keep on like mining that, rather than thinking too much about the nuts and bolts of what you need. Think about, what your biggest desire is instead. That would be my biggest learning, because I'm somebody who go, well, I won't have too much, I'll just ask for what I need, and then I'm always needy. Whereas if you go, no, I want large, I want extra large, I want extra large with pudding and a starters and a doggy bag, and I want all the extras, then you'd probably get maybe a different outcome if you had that mindset than go, I just have a little bit, please. Then you get peanuts. So like that little mindset shift, I think, is probably what I always get most from working with coaches. Like, they're like, geez, you're thinking small.
I think that's such good advice, because I do think that is something quite like particular in the birth and baby world, is that maybe because in the main we're all women, and again, like you said, Alex, is that kind of like good girl attitude, and it's like, I don't want to be greedy, I don't want to have too much, God forbid I'm going to be paid well for my services and for my knowledge and experience and everything I have to offer the world. It is so important to actually think like, I could make a huge impact on like my area of the world, like on what I am passionate about. I could be a change maker, I could be an innovator. And unless you have that mindset, you are just going to get like the dribs and drabs that sort of come through. It's like, am I going to fill my classes? Am I going to do this? Like all of that, to an extent, we have to do. We have to be able to set goals, and we have to be able to earn money and start somewhere. But having that big picture thinking, I think, is what really differentiates people from the people who are going to be struggling to make an income from a birth and baby business to the ones that are going to be making a huge change and a difference. So that is stellar bit of advice there, I think. Well, I can't believe we've been talking for 50 minutes. So this is probably the longest podcast recording that we've done, but we always knew it was going to be because we both know Alex. So we always knew there was going to be like a bit of a
God, shut up.
There was going to be
She's going to happily double the time. She just won't stop talking.
Well, we knew there would be good flow in the conversation, is what I mean. So thank you so much, Alex. And would you tell everybody where they can find you, how they can find out more about you, where they can trade? Give us the lowdown on how we can get more of Alex Heath in our lives.
Indeed, yes. I mean, because I collect websites like Other Women Collect Handbags. So if you are a professional and you want to train, then look at the website tbrcollege.com, because that's where all the training and resources for professionals live. So that's tbrcollege.com. If you are a parent and you're looking for support, you're looking for either like a professional who can support your recovery from birth trauma, then check out the site traumaticbirthrecovery.com. And if you want to work with me one-to-one as a parent, then that is thebirthrepublic.com. Follow me on Instagram, even on TikTok now.
Oh, God, you're so new age.
Do you know what I'm loving? I'm loving the LinkedIn. Oh. There's something really like quite cut through-ish with LinkedIn. There's something a bit no nonsense that I'm enjoying about the LinkedIn at the moment.
Great. Well, I'm going to have to go and pay you a little visit over on LinkedIn, definitely.
Yeah. Do come and hit me up.
Will do.
Thank you. Thanks, Alex. It's been brilliant. We've loved chatting to you.
It's been a slice of heaven. Yeah, it's lovely to catch up with you, ladies. We must do it again soon in a non-podcast environment. Perhaps when you're back now.
Do you know what, though, Alex? I think we just got to give you a little shout out before we end, because the last time we all physically saw each other, I believe, was in London. That was the day we met up, the three of us, for a little catch up. And that was the day that Baba was born. Because when you had to go home a little bit early, and Anna and I were walking towards the train station, and we literally gave birth to Baba on the way. So you were part of that creation.
Baba's got her own natal birth chart and everything. Yeah, it actually happened in that moment. So you were very much
it was
like
a very
part
auspicious
of that.
day. Yeah, and it's so needed, isn't it? I think, just being part of a community and having some coaching and mentorship as part of that is just so important. Like I'm always really honest. Like I feel like I've still got so far to go in my business. There's still so much I want to go, but I definitely would not have got this far without community, coaching or mentorship. I just wouldn't have.
No.
Because I just get all of the, so it's so important. It is such an important part of the package, isn't it?
Definitely.
For sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
On that note, thank you, Alex. We'll end now.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.